Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to morning Bhagavatam class. I'll start today's words with the pranam mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Tapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhabhyeva Cha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll recite Bhagavatam prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayam udirayet susrusho shraddhanasya vasudeva kataruchi Bhagavad-Bhakti Yogataha Bhakta Tattva Vijnana Susrusho Shraddhananasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Shan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat Shunvatam Sakwataha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Hridayantastu Hibadrani Vidunoti Shrutradam Nashtaprayeshu cha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhasta chaye cheta eter anavidham stitam satve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sanjasya jayate Bhityate dhrudayagrante chityante sarva samsayaha kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishwari. I'll share my screen for today's verse. Today's verse is about 1.14.38. Yat bahudanda abhyudhayi no janivo yadu pravirahi akuto bhayamukho adikramanti anghirbhir arhatam balat sabham sudharam surasatamochitam. Synonyms: Yat, whose, Bahu, Danda, arms, Abhyudaya, influenced by, Jivinaha, always living, Yadu, the members of the Yadu dynasty, Praviraha, great heroes, He, Akuto Bhaya, fearless in every respect, Muhu, constantly, Adikramanti, transversing, Anghi Ribhi, by foot, Arhatam, brought about, Balat, by force, Sabham, assembly house, Suduram, Sudharma, Sudharma, Sura Sattama, the best among the demigods, Uchitam, deserving. Translation: the great heroes of Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of the Lord Sri Krishna, always remain fearless in every respect, and therefore their feet trample over the Sudharma assembly house, which the great demigods deserved, but which was taken away from them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those who are directly servitors of the Lord are protected by the Lord from all fearfulness, and they also enjoy the best of things even if they are forcibly accumulated. The Lord is equal in behavior to all living beings, but he is partial to his pure devotees, being very affectionate towards them. The city of Dwarka was flourishing, being enriched with the best of things in the material world. The state assembly house is constructed according to the dignity of the particular state. In the heavenly planets, the state assembly house called Sudharma was deserving of the dignity of the best of the demigods. Such an assembly house is never meant for any state on the globe because the human being on the earth is unable to construct it. However, far a particular state may be materially advanced. But during the time of Lord Krishna's presence on the earth, the members of the Yadu family forcibly brought the celestial assembly house to earth and placed it in at Dwarka. They were able to use such force because they were certain of the indulgence and protection of the Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, the Lord is provided with the best things in the universe by his pure devotees. Lord Krishna was provided with all kinds of comforts and facilities available within the universe by the members of the Yadu dynasty. And in return, such servitors of the Lord were protected and fearless. A forgetful, conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. Just as a small child completely dependent on the mercy of his father is never fearful of anyone. Fearfulness is a sort of illusion for the living being when he is in slumber and forgetting his eternal relationship with the Lord. Since the living being is never to die by his constitution, as stated in Bhagavad-Gita 2.20, then what is the cause of fearlessness? Fearfulness. A person may be fearful of a tiger in a dream, but another man who is awake by his side sees no tiger there. The tiger is a myth for both of them, namely the person dreaming and the person awake, because actually there is no tiger, but the man forgetful of his awakened life is fearful, whereas the man who has not forgotten his position is not at all fearful. Thus the members of the Yadu dynasty were fully awake in their service to the Lord, and therefore there was no tiger for them to be afraid of at any time. Even if there were a real tiger, the Lord was there to protect them. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I want to recap a little bit. So this chapter is all about Lord Krishna's disappearance from this material world. So far, we discussed about Maharaj Yudhishthira wondered if his brother Arjuna was safe and if Lord Krishna had left the earth. He had been experiencing so many bad omens, like his body quivering, nature giving way to darkness, and settlements being void of beauty. As Yudhishthira was explaining his surroundings, Arjuna returned to Hastinapura looking very sad. Yudhishthira thus questioned his brother about the welfare of his family. In this verse, Yudhishthira Maharaja describes the fearlessness of Yadu dynasty protected by the Lord Krishna. I will share my screen again for the purport. Those who are directly servitors of the Lord are protected by the Lord from all fearfulness, and they are also enjoy the best of things, even if they are forcibly accumulated. The Lord is equal in behavior to all living beings. The Lord is equal in behavior to all living beings, but he is partial to his pure devotees, being very affectionate towards them. Regarding this, I could relate to the Bhagavad-Gita 9.29, which assures the same statement. Sammoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi tateshu chapyaham. So the translation goes like this. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. Krishna is saying that he is not envy to no, he like I know envy no one, nor am partial to anyone. And I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. So Krishna directly talks to Arjuna that everyone is equal to him. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada neatly explains the translation given by Krishna. Like one may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and as such he provides everyone with a generous supply of necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. The Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree. And whatever one wants from his desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord here stated to be partial to the devotees This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service of the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is a part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So even in Nectar of Devotion, like it is stated like partial to the devotees in one of the 50 characteristics of Lord. And next we'll be going to the city of Dwarka. The city of Dwarka was flourishing, being enriched with the best of things in the material world. The state assembly house is constructed according to the dignity of a particular state. In the heavenly planets, the state assembly house called Sudharma was deserving of the dignity of the best of the demigods. Such an assembly house is never meant for any state on the globe because the human being on the earth is unable to construct it. However, far a particular state may be materially advanced. But during the time of the Lord Krishna's presence on the earth, the members of the Yadu family forcefully brought the celestial assembly house to the earth and placed it at Dwarka. They were able to use such force because they were certain of the indulgence and protection of the Supreme Lord. So it is like the Sudharma, already Gadadhar Chandra Prabhuji explained detailedly like how it was gifted by Indra to Lord Krishna, and it is brought from heavenly planets to the earth. And we are going to the next part. A forgetful conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. Just as a small child completely dependent on the mercy of his father is never fearful of anyone. Fearfulness is a sort of illusion for the living being when he is in slumber and forgetting his eternal relation with the Lord. Since the living being is never to die by his constitution, as stated in Bhagavad-Gita 2.20, then what is the cause of fearfulness? Yeah, 2.20, like it describes more about the soul. Like what it talks about is, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, everlasting, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So Prabhupada detailedly gives like the soul concept, and we should not be fearful. A person may be fearful of a tiger in a dream, but another man who is awake by his side sees no tiger there. The tiger is a myth for both of them, namely the person dreaming and the person awake. Because actually there is no tiger, but the man forgetful of his awakened life is fearful. Whereas the man who has not forgotten his position is not at all fearful. Thus the members of the Yadu dynasty were fully awake in their service to the Lord. And therefore there was no tiger for them to be afraid at any time, even if was a real tiger. The Lord was there to protect them. So here Prabhupada really explained clearly about the fear, but I want to go in detail. I was manipulating for last 15 days, like I was contemplating on what is fear and everything. So what is fear? It is the uncertainty or the future keeps us, many of us, in a perpetual state of fear. The world is so unpredictable, we don't know what is going to happen in the next moment. Health crisis, financial collapses, joblessness, death in the family. Anything can happen at any time. Most of us worry about things that have never happened to us and will never happen to us. Fear is like a noose that gets tighter and tighter until it strangles one to death. Even Arjuna faced the same moment, fear, and it got clearly explained in the first chapter of Bhagavad-Gita from verses 31 to 44. Arjuna states like this: what good comes from family, like comes from killing my family? What pleasure do we enjoy after killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin will conquer us if we slay such aggressors. Why should we, who can see the crime of destroying families, commit such an error? As the dynasty is destroyed, the rest of the family falls into religion, and as the women become polluted and degraded, unwanted progeny results. As the population increases, the quality of life decreases of the family and the destroyer of the tradition. Because of this, the Pinda Pradhan is never completed. The family ancestors fall down and all the family welfare is stopped. Thus, who stop family traditions always end up in hell. Therefore, it is very strange that we are preparing to kill our own relatives for royal enjoyment. This is what Arjuna states in the first chapter about our present scenario, what we are going through now. The world is dealing with the coronavirus. We are fearful mentally, physically, financially, and morally. The fear drains us. We are losing our loved ones, which is very painful. Fear leads to stress and later causes depression and anxiety. We can never remove fear, but we can change it, we can manage it. I want to further discuss about the fear and its consequences. In the 50th century, Indian philosopher, poet, and grammarian Bhartrhari explains that there are 9 types of fear. Bhoge roga bhayam, khule chaitu bhayam, vitte nripalad bhayam, mane dainya bhayam, bhale nripu bhayam, rupe jagara bhayam, shastre vadi bhayam, gune khala bhayam, kaye kirtanad bhayam, sarvam vastu bhayam, vitam bhuvi nrinam, vairagyam eva bhayam. It's talk about 9 types of fear. In enjoyment, there is a fear of disease. And in family, there is a fear of disgrace. In wealth, there is fear of hostile rulers. In honor, there is a fear of humiliation. In knowledge, there is a fear of opponents. In beauty, there is fear of old age. In power, there is fear of backbiters. In virtue, there is fear of jealousy. In body, there is fear of death. All the things of this world pertaining to a man are attending by fear. So we'll go to the types of fears. There are 2 types of fears, positive and negative. Anyways, the positive fears are healthy and they help us guide us in the right direction. Negative fears distress us and lead to depression and anxiety. Death is most frightening thing among all fears. Because what happens after death is a mystery to most people. When Srila Prabhupada was once asked why the death rate was so high in India, Srila Prabhupada answered like this: the death rate is the same everywhere, 100%. Yeah. Excessive fear can ruin one's life. Here are some of the effects. One is like physical effect. Gripped by fear, the body reacts with perspiration, palpitation, and a rise in blood pressure. And the social effect. A fearful person feels lonely and isolated and is often unable to mix with friends and society. To maintain his or her status, such a person may resort to speaking lies. Fear also causes us to hate those who we fear. A child afraid of his father hates his father. An employee afraid of his boss hates his boss. And the third one is occupational effect. Overwhelmed by fear of failure at work, people often stagnate and stop performing. If I don't meet my goals, my boss will fire me. Such negative thoughts anger such people and ruin their lives. Emotional effect. Fear is compared to a stream of deadly, dangerous thoughts. In extreme cases, constant fear can lead to suicide. I'll talk more about the fear. What is the root cause of a fear? Actually, the fear originates in mind. Even Bhagavad-Gita 6.5 states that mind is both the friend and enemy. The mind gives us a breakdown for every situation. It makes us crave the future, deceive the present, and lament for the past. It even makes us feel sad and happy. Fear arises when we accept false things as true, the temporary as eternal, illusion as reality. The world of matter is temporary and illusory, and therefore the happiness found here is one of the same nature. Our body too, being made of matter, has the same nature. It can never provide us everlasting happiness. Forgetting this, we try to find happiness in the material world through the temporary body, and we find ourselves in a fearful situation. Fear of change, disruption, and ultimately death looms behind us, not allowing us to remain peaceful. We are spirit souls, different from the material body, and we belong to eternal, blissful spiritual world. But for some reason, we have fallen into the world of matter, which is totally foreign to us. Here we have developed a spirit of rebellious independence, efforts to the service of God, Krishna. This has put us in a miserable situation. We are orphans. We have been left to fend ourselves. We face fear at every step of life to some degree or other. Padam, padam, vipadam. And there is a guaranteed remedy for this. How do we overcome our fear? We must always have faith in Krishna. Remember that the concept of fear is Krishna's plan minus our plan. We can follow even the 6 steps to overcome the fear. The first one is identify our fear comes from lack of knowledge. And the second one is we need to engage ourselves in serving Krishna. And the third is We have to take small steps to avoid fearing the unknown. And the fourth step, accept the situation as they are and develop positive fear. And the fifth step, always remember Krishna, never forget him. And the sixth one, understand that no one can escape death and that everyone strives to be secure in life. And the modern example I want to give you. The easiest way to become fearless is by studying lives of great devotees who exemplify the quality of surrender. Here I want to discuss about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, at the ripe age of 69, went to West to approach the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He had no money or support, no source of income, no permanent place to stay, no guarantee he would even be fed. But he was fearless because, as he often said, he had strong faith in the holy name of Krishna and the order of his spiritual master. During the journey to America, he suffered 2 heart attacks. The third one might have killed him. On the night of the second heart attack, Srila Prabhupada dreamed he saw Lord Krishna rowing a boat and asking him not to be afraid. The Lord thus assured Srila Prabhupada that he would be with him. Significantly enough, Srila Prabhupada's parents had given him the name Abhay Charan, one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's feet. Prabhupada earned that name. Out of compassion, he shared Krishna's sublime message of Bhagavad-Gita and transformed the lives of millions of people all over the world. In his purport in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.2131, Srila Prabhupada writes, to award fearlessness to the common man is the great act of charity. He especially mentioned in that purport. At various places in his writing, Srila Prabhupada teaches us how to remain fearless. And I want to quote some of the Prabhupada quoted verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. So the first one is like chanting holy names. He even stressed in that purport 2.1.11. And the second one, he stressed about read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. From 1.7.7, he stressed about read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And meditate on Sri Krishna's form. In 7.10.29, he pointed all these verses to meditate on Krishna's forms and serve the Lord, serve the devotees and serve the Lord. In 6.1.17. So among all these methods, like chanting the holy names, the religion of this age is the best and is the easiest way to dispel fear. Sincere chanting can help us instantly transcend all the anxieties of this world. Chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, will swiftly bring us closer to Krishna and make us feel sheltered. By Krishna's mercy, we will be able to fearlessly march towards our supreme destination, Vaikuntha, the place without anxiety or fear. Today, I'm concluding my session by saying, don't fear when Krishna is here. The Vaishnava philosopher and great poet Govindadasa has sung Bhajahure. He said that, my dear mind, please worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda Krishna, which makes one fearless. To a devotee who earnestly prays for help in this way, Krishna rewards totally fearlessness. I want to conclude the session with this Bajahure. Bajahure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. Bajahure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. And the last, I want to conclude the session saying that Bhagavad-Gita 18.66. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So it is Krishna's assurance to us. So this is my conclusion. Thank you. I'm open for some advice.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for very detailedly explaining about the 6 points at the end. I mean, just before conclusion, you talked about the 6 points that we need to remember or practice to become fearlessness. So I was appreciating those 6 things, Mataji. So I think it was like a very nice.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Please pray for me and bless me.
He concluded that, you mentioned about, I mean, I was also contemplating on this fear topic for last, month or so, right? I mean, from all the things, what is happening around us or around the world, right? I mean, especially with our, near and dear ones, in India and all, right? So, when we talk about how the fear is overtaking us, right? I mean, it's not very easy. I mean, as long as I was thinking, it's all good. Something is happening. Yeah, we are not the body and all is very good. We have the knowledge. But then, to some extent, theoretical knowledge. But then when it comes to our near, very close, right? So persons whom we know, so then the real fear comes, right? So
yes,
that's
the hard part.
Very difficult. So yeah, one has done the 6 things that you mentioned, Mataji, that I think that will help us. One need to understand the reality. At the same time, take a small steps not to become. Of course, compared to people out there, maybe devotees are much, comparatively better, I'm sure, for, many of us at least, right? So have the knowledge theoretically, and then, I'm sure once we have that knowledge, the application comes. So to whatever extent we realize. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Shall we end our session, Prabhuji, at 7:40?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
I'm also very thankful that you dealt with that topic of fear in great length. I was wondering, there is one statement in Bhagavatam, Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinivesha, that one. Lingaraj Prabhu, do you remember that quote?
I don't remember completely. I remember what you are saying, Mataji, but I don't remember the Bhayam Dvitiyam.
Anybody else on the call? I just wish I could retrieve that one. It is our thinking that there is anything different from Krishna. That is what it means. Everything is Krishna. We have to, and Krishna's energy is at work. So if we have that vision, then we don't experience fear. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Mrityu sarvaharas chaham. That is, I am death which destroys everything. So Srila Prabhupada is asking, you have to peer into death if you see Krishna there. That is how much we have to, accept that everything is in Krishna. I mean that quote. When I remember it, I can, when I am able to
11 to 37, Mataji. Bayam Viyabhi
please.
Veshitasyat. Yeah, the translation is that fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. That I mean, you also covered the same thing, but that quote I remembered. So thank you very much, Mataji. It's a very
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Can I end, Mataji? I think if you want.
Sure, Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhya eva cha patatanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.